Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Last week I tackled a project I have been wanting to do for a while, but unfortunately these last few months have been all about establishing the veggie garden, as that is a timing issue. This little garden is a memorial garden I put together 4 or 5 years ago for my late grandma. I had in mind a very specific look that I wanted to do for this garden, and over the years it has just not turned out how I wanted. Um, so I'm starting over. I planted my blue marvel salvia in this bed, which is pretty much the only thing that thrived and survived over the years. My idea for this garden was to put perennials in there that had colors that reminded me of my grandma, also plants that I just know that she would have loved and adored. And then I wanted to do part of the bed um, with like a succulent garden, which is why on the second row of bricks you can see, I don't know if you saw it, but there was a gap that were missing bricks. And I had this idea that the succulents were going to drape over the edge with the sedum that I planted. And it was just going to look really cool and whimsy. Over the years, that was not the case. That is not how it turned out at all. Grass has overtaken this bed. The sedums overtook a lot of the stuff that I planted. I planted a few different types of salvias. I planted echinacea in there, the sedum, a couple other different types of succulents, and then there's also bulbs in there. The bulbs do pop up, but those only pop up for a limited time out of the year. And because the bed is so sparse, the bulbs do not look right. They're not clustered, they're very sparse. Um, Come March, when the daffodils and stuff like that are popping up, it just does not look beautiful anymore, and I want to redo it. So I hate grass. I absolutely hate grass, and I am just so devastated that the grass has overtaken this bed the way that it did. And unfortunately, while I was digging, I did not even realize how much stuff that I've planted in this bed over the years was actually doing that well. But I couldn't tell because it was covered up by the grass. So that is sad. I did have to rip out a few things. There were some allium blooming or starting to bloom that were really beautiful that I was actually really excited to see. But I'll put them somewhere else in the yard. But, it is what it is. Nothing can survive that grass. It doesn't look right. It's been looking messy for months. I've been having to mow around this big bricked in pile of grass because the grass is just out of control. I did find and pull out all of my big daffodil bulbs while I was digging up the grass. I later replanted those once I got everything all pulled out. So the daffodils will be in there. I'm definitely going to add more in the fall so things are more clustered and full because it was very, very sparse this last March when the bulbs popped up. But I also did find my big daisy bush, not bush, plant that I put in there in the early spring or late winter that I totally had forgot that I put in there, but again was covered up by the grass, and I almost took a shovel to it, and then I remembered what it was. So there is a few things that I do end up leaving in this bed. Um, but my ultimate goal with this redo was I wanted to put the rest of my dahlias in this bed because I have way too many tubers for the spot I currently have cleared out in my veggie garden for flowers. They're all filled up with flowers, and I have so many tubers. My mother-in-law really, really hooked me up this year with dahlia tubers, and I thought it would be so pretty if I just popped in some dahlias into this spot with the light post. So the whole reason why I decided to put my grandma's memorial garden here, because in the future videos you will see how massive this yard is. This spot right here, you can see this garden from the living room window. You can see it when you drive by on the street. You can see it pretty much anywhere from the front yard. And I just thought it would be such a good place to honor my grandma. And my grandma nurtured this yard. This yard was like her third grandchild, and it was absolutely beautiful, magazine worthy at one point before she passed away. I mean, my grandma used to edge this yard. I just found plastic in there. That's why I made that face when I was a total amateur 4 or 5 years ago and put plastic in the bottom of this bed. I would never ever do that again, ever. everything that I know now, I would never put plastic under soil again. But anyway, what I was saying, my grandma used to edge this yard, all her garden spaces, her whole entire yard with a kitchen knife. That's how much she nurtured this yard. And now that I'm adult and I've gotten into gardening these last 5, 6 years, especially, I really wanted to revamp this yard. For those who can tell, I garden in two different spaces. This space here where I have my veggie garden is at my grandpa's house. I have my own designated spot that I garden in my grandma's old 10 by 30 garden space. That space means a lot to me. But I know sometimes it looks confusing in my videos. I do garden in two separate spots. I live at an apartment that only has a back, very shaded patio where I can only just have a few hanging baskets and a few potted plants that can survive with the dappled sun. But here at my grandpa's house, I have much more freedom with all of the light and the space. But yeah, there's the alliums that I had to pull out. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about this space a little bit and clarify some stuff. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video of me trying to redo this memorial garden that I had made for my grandma. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy.